guys, I'm Heather, and I'm the oldest. And she's the emotional one.
Oh my God.
Sorry, Pollyanna, one second. I'm gonna pee.
Hey guys, I'm Ben. I'm the middle child.
And he's the practical one.
Oh, here's I'm pragmatic. I take my favorite song and I'm willing to cut it.
Ew, get off the cross. You're not the only one who did that. I'm Beth, and I'm the baby.
She's also the swing vote.
You had one job. What did you say? What did you say? What came out of your mouth?
Together, we make the Music List podcast. Welcome back to this rendition of the Music List podcast. I am Ben Dial. I'm with my sisters, Heather and Beth. And today we're going to take on a topic that's probably going to be very near and dear to our hearts. It's one where we may have some knockdown, drag-out discussions about because this particular band that we're talking about is one that we all enjoy and we have opinions about, and that's the Eagles.
Definitely.
And what we're going to try to do today is we're going to try to pare down the very best, the 5 best Eagles songs. Now, that's a pretty tall order for sure, especially considering their repertoire. Not a huge discology, only about I think they've got 7 studio albums and then a litany of greatest hits and live recordings and stuff like that. But not just a huge wealth of original materials, around 84 songs, something like that. But we're going to try to pare down and get it down to the top 5. It's a band that, like I said, is really, really important to all of us for one reason or another. We just enjoy them for one thing. Heather, we'll start with you. How did you get to become an Eagles fan, and what do they mean to you musically, I guess?
Well, I mean, with Dad playing in bands and, just going through his record collection and everything, there were always Eagles, albums in there. I can say, without a doubt, that the Eagles are my favorite band of all time. So I've got a lot of skin in the game for this one. I've seen them at least 7 or 8 times live. They really are important to me because as far as just putting on, you know how guitar players will go and play with the studio album and learn how to play riffs that way. They taught me so much about singing harmonies. And so now that I'm a musician and I not only teach music, I'm also in a band, those tight, correct, spot on harmonies. So much of that I learned from the Eagles, just learning every part in the song and stuff like that. So it's very important to me.
And, we mentioned the live performance. Obviously, Seven Bridges Road, the only recording we have of Seven Bridges Road is a live recording.
Yep.
And they made a point of saying Victim of Love was a one-shot take in the studio with all the band members present. And they made it's actually etched into the vinyl so that you would see that on the Hotel California album, which was just kind of like a poke because people said, they're a studio band. There's no real love or whatever to the music. And they put it all into one take.
Yeah.
Beth, what about you? I mean, this is you're the youngest of the bunch, so you're actually the furthest removed from the Eagles' glory days, which lasted till about 1980 when they broke up. I was born barely. I was a newborn in 1980, but you're the furthest removed. So how did you get to become an Eagles fan?
Similar to Heather. I mean, we grew up with Dad going on road trips, and Dad had this huge car that you had to load CDs in the back in the trunk. They had a couple of cartridges that you could put, and we all would get to choose a CD, right? So there was always a Beatles CD, and there was always a Beatles album in there. I would put, at that time, probably like a Backstreet Boys CD or something, but he would let me do that. Mom would put some kind of bubblegum thing in there, and then the rest of them, it was just kind of like a free-for-all, things that we all liked somewhat. And so we had an Eagles album in there all the time. Usually, I think he might have had a greatest hits album in there, so I was kind of exposed to a range of their career in that way. And then just growing up and kind of digging into, okay, here's more. This is a new song that I didn't hear when I was on the road trip or whatever like that. And similar to Heather, hearing those harmonies growing up, listening to quality vocals and great blend, I think I learned a lot that way, and it helped my ear musically. And you don't realize it at the time, but you can look back and say, okay, here's how I know how to hear a harmony. So that's kind of me. I've seen them once live. I don't know, I went with you, so I don't remember how old I was. Probably, I don't know. I really have no idea.
That was actually in what is now Verizon. I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was Alltel Arena
Alltel,
probably back
probably,
then
yeah.
in Little Rock. So that was probably, I'm guessing, 2003 or 4,
Okay.
maybe somewhere.
So
in
I
there.
might,
mean,
I don't know, because I would have been 13 or 14. I feel like it might have been before that.
Okay.
Maybe a couple of years before, so between 10 and 13 probably. So that was a very memorable moment. I knew the weight of what I was seeing.
And probably
even
one
then.
of your first major concerts in a
absolutely.
big arena too. And
Yeah.
you always remember that,
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, the Eagles were my first big concert. That was War Memorial Stadium.
Can we take a minute to just tell the story?
Well, let me tell you my Dad certainly influenced me to like the Eagles, because whenever you would ask Dad, "What's your favorite band?" and Dad would say, "Well, it's probably the Beatles," and then he would pause and he would say, "But I like the Eagles a lot too, so it may be the Eagles." So I mean, so I kind of knew who the Eagles were. We listened to the Eagles a lot, but I was 14, 15 years old when Hell Freezes Over
Right.
begins, okay? And so I'm kind of in really my prime listening years, because I'm not in college yet. I'm not really in high school yet, running around doing things. I have a lot of time to listen to music,
Yeah.
right? And I'm buying CDs and I'm listening to CDs, and I get the Hell Freezes Over album. And that was really my first major introduction into the Eagles. And then we go to the concert, and I just fall in love with the Eagles, and then I buy everything Eagles. I get all the albums. I know, everything forwards and backwards, to the point that now Kara can't hardly stand them because we listen to them all the time.
Was that your first concert?
Well, it was my first what I would consider to be major concert. We had gone to see Dad open for Delbert McClinton, and we had seen
Three
Dad
Dog
open
Night.
for Three Dog Night. But that's Riverfront, that's not, or Riverfest. That's not sitting with 50,000 people in a stadium. That's not a stadium type concert. So
That
the
will
Eagles,
spoil you for concerts, because
Yeah.
I've never seen a band, and I don't know I can't count how many concerts I've been to, but I've never seen a band be just spot on accurate. And they do go to, I think, great lengths to try to sound as much like the original recordings. A lot of artists, and that's fine, they try to change it up and make it fresh for themselves, I think. But these guys sound like the record.
Yeah, but Hell Freezes Over came on at the perfect time for me to really dive in. And the Rolling Stones did the same thing, but I didn't fall in love with the Rolling Stones like I did the Eagles. There were a lot of people in school that were falling in love with the Rolling Stones because they were having one of their return tours at the time, and they came to Little Rock not long after or before, maybe, roughly the same time period that the Eagles came in. But I just fell in love with the Eagles, and I think a lot of it was I was listening heavily to country, and the Eagles kind of have some country roots to them, certainly. And so it was kind of a meld of what I really liked. I loved the rock and roll, and I loved the country, and the Eagles blended that maybe as well as any, because it wasn't Southern rock.
Right.
Which Southern rock is another kind of melding of country and rock and roll, but it wasn't that at all.
Right.
The Eagles are almost impossible to categorize, to put them in a box, because they're so diverse, for one thing, and even their own individual sound is nothing that really fits neatly into rock and roll, country, adult contemporary. I mean, there's really a lot of different kind of genres that you can see. Well, I can see that they're this, I can see that they're that.
Yeah.
So now we did have a memorable
There was an incident.
There was a memorable incident that happened at the War Memorial. This was 1995, 94
when that came out. So you were
so
14.
this was June or July because it was very hot.
Yes.
It was the summer of June or July, probably July, because it was really hot.
It was really hot. And so you were 14, so I was 20. And my, I guess it was my fiance at the time, my now former husband. But we took you to the concert, and we were sitting about halfway up, and they had the beach balls, being batted around as they do at outdoor concerts. And so we're about halfway up, and these two ladies walk in front of us, but quite a few rows down, and they are dressed in leathers and like a Evan Williams cut-off T-shirt, studded belt, salt and pepper, and the long, hair that's probably been the same there since 1972 when they saw the Eagles the first time. And these ladies were tough, you could tell. They had their beer, 2 fists in it and everything, which is important because their hands were full, and everyone's batting the ball around. And so the ball gets to Ben, and I don't know, he decided to spike it like he was at the Olympics, and so he just bats the ball down, and he hits one of those women square in the face. I mean, and
to the point that, I bet we're 17, 18 rows up, and it was now. To one point,
and her
I want to
hands were
say,
full with beer, so she couldn't.
I want to say that it's impressive because you know that a beach ball loses a lot of velocity pretty quickly, but it was still moving. You could hear it hit her face.
If you could have seen it, in slow motion, like it would have been the whole thing where the
I
nose
did see it in slow motion. The whole event happened in slow motion. When I realized the trajectory of the ball, everything slowed down to a crawl. And it's like a movie. Oh, no.
So she looks up. I don't know if she spilled the beer or not, or she threw the beer, but she didn't have the beer anymore when she comes up the stairs, and she's like, "Who did it? Who did it?" And all these people are just pointing behind and stuff. And my very mild-mannered ex-husband is just sitting there, and they're pointing.
I think fast. I think on my feet really fast.
Who did it? And I'm thinking, this is not going to be good. I'm thinking I might actually end up taking a pop because I'm the only, she's not going to hit a 14-year-old. She's not going to, she may just come after me. I don't know, but it was him on the end, me in the middle, and then Ben, and he points straight across me, straight to Jason. He did it. It's so rude. And she lit into him. I don't think he even knew what to say, but
he didn't say anything. He was just he was dumbfounded. I think that I snitched on him, and he was not guilty at all.
But we all lived, and she said some choice words, and
she did.
And then
what an experience, and that's how the Eagles. That was before the concert even started, so we knew we were in for an excellent excellent evening. So a little bit about the Eagles, in case you don't know who the Eagles are, you would be surprised you're listening to this podcast, but they are without question one of the great American rock bands to ever grace a stage. They were formed out of Los Angeles. Glenn Frey, Don Henley, Randy Meisner, and Bernie Leadon founded the band in 71. Their debut album, Eagles in 72, hit the charts pretty quickly. 2 noteworthy singles were the first 2 tracks, Take It Easy and Witchy Woman. They also had Peaceful Easy Feeling. Pretty good start for your first album. Follow-up albums, one of them was a concept album, Desperado, which was Western in nature, produced the title track, and also Tequila Sunrise. And then On the Border, had some hits. Already Gone was their first #1 off of that album. Best of My Love also on that album. And as a side note, the Eagles added Don Felder to play guitar alongside Bernie Leadon on the Border album as well, and he would have a huge influence on the direction of the band moving forward.
Until he didn't.
Until he Yoko Ono'd the band, essentially. But after that, the Eagles started a string of 4 consecutive #1 studio albums, the first one being One of These Nights in 1975. That album included 3 #1 hits. Was really the one that kind of put them into the we're possibly the best band in America territory. Bernie Leadon would then leave the band after that, after he discovered that the group was evolving further and further away from their folk and country roots and toward a more distinctive rock sound that Felder was largely responsible for implementing. They would replace Leadon with a guy by the name of Joe Walsh for their next album. He obviously is a great showman, but in addition to that, very accomplished guitar player in his own right, one of the better guitar players in the 1970s. Their next studio release would be Hotel California. Walsh and Don Felder had contrasting rock styles, but they were able to blend that into multiple songs where they had dueling guitar solos, and they really fed off of each other and created some magic there. Their last studio album of that initial run, The Long Run, also went #1. The bassist Randy Meisner was gone. He was replaced with Timothy Schmidt. Interestingly enough, they both played bass for Poco.
Really?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah,
Didn't know
that. Schmidt replaced Meisner as the bassist in that band also. So there you go. And right out of the gate, Timothy B. Schmidt added another vocal dimension to them with the high falsettos that they really didn't have previous to that, and he contributed with I Can't Tell You Why, which is one of their really brilliant songs.
I think they sound like they sound like 2 different bands to me when Schmidt came in. So that's a huge moment.
And you one of the things that you can kind of see with the Eagles history is as they lose members and gain members, you can see how that focuses the evolution of the band. And I Can't Tell You Why peaked inside the top 10. That album also had Heartache Tonight and The Long Run. Then they just broke up. Problems between Felder and Glenn Frey kind of led to the the band breaking up. But then in 1994, they get back together. They did have one more hit after that, which was Seven Bridges Road, because the Eagles Live wasn't completed until after the band broke up. And Seven Bridges Road was on that album, and it went all the way. Well, it didn't go all the way to #1, but it did chart very high. Then Hell Freezes Over comes on. That album goes to #1. And then in 2007, they have another #1 album, which is Long Road Out of Eden. And then their charts, the songs on that kind of go in different directions. Some of them chart on the country, some of them adult contemporary, but they don't really have the same rock success out of that one. But the sales, obviously, were pretty good for the album. Overall, the Eagles have 5 #1 singles, 6 Grammys, 5 AMA awards, 6 #1 albums, and in confirmed album sales, these are not what, I didn't realize this, but apparently there are claimed sales that don't necessarily match the confirmed sales. But if you go by confirmed sales, Hotel California and the Greatest Hits album are 2 of the 3 highest grossing sales in music history. The Greatest Hits album, 71 to 75, being #2, Hotel California #3. They're the 5th highest selling musical act of all time, the highest selling American band in history. Inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in '98, nominated 4 times by the CMA Awards, Country Music, for Vocal Group of the Year, twice in the '70s and twice in 2000. So they've kind of been riding that country rock line for a long time. CMT ranked them #34 on the 40 greatest men of country music. Now, you think about that.
Yeah.
That's the country. I mean, they're in that list with the Johnny Cashes and the Willie Nelsons and the Waylon Jennings. They're 34. That's pretty impressive. And they are currently listed number 75 on Rolling Stone's top 100 greatest musical acts of all time across all genres. That's pretty impressive,
number?
too. 75 out of 100. But that includes Johnny. That includes
Sure.
country. That includes. I think Rolling Stone sometimes goes out of their way to not show recency bias, and so there's some, like I don't think Nirvana should be ahead of the Eagles, but they are on the list. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, Johnny Cash was 74, so I've got some issues with the Rolling Stone list, but they did make the top 100. So, with that said,
Well, I've done my part with ticket sales.
I think it is time to start the draft.
Got your music?
I have my list. If that's what you mean.
Your draft music.
Yeah, you're not gonna.
I don't have my draft music. No, we may add that in later.
Thought you're gonna sing it again.
So
In
the
post.
draft order for today is going to be Beth,
Heck yeah.
then Heather, then me.
Sucks to suck, because I already know we have the same number one.
So, Beth, you get the first overall pick. And what's it going to be?
My number one pick is Wasted Time. So musically, it's a departure from a lot of that country rock feel that they have, which I kind of prefer more of their rock-oriented songs, the ones that are a little bit heavier. Don Henley's vocal delivery is so impactful on this one, and then just lyrically, Autumn Leaves got you thinking about the first time you fell. That double play on words, it's deep. Musically, it's deep lyrically. When hours go by like minutes, you can't stop time from passing. Is it too late? I think we've all felt that at some point. Like
My 15, 16-year-old self crying in my bedroom. Oh.
Yeah, so thematically, lyrically, musically, I think it's just a rich song. So that's my favorite one that they have.
It's very
as
soulful,
well as what I
too.
think is.
It is. It's got one of my favorite lines in music ever, which is, sometimes to keep it together, you got to leave it alone.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
that's one of the things about, Henley and Fry, when they got together, they could create some absolute magical lines together.
Yeah.
We did not ask the question. I think this is a good time. We're talking about, this is the best Eagle song. These are not necessarily our favorite Eagle songs.
Except this is my favorite.
Yeah.
These are not
One and the same.
necessarily the ones that we think are the most iconic or the ones that hit number one. These are the ones that we think are the best musically.
Right. Not at all, because they rarely play Wasted Time live. Out of the many concerts that I've been to of theirs, they've maybe done it twice that I've seen them do.
But it begs the question, as before we go forward, what's the criteria that you're looking for to make it a great song, musically, whatever the case is? Like, what's your criteria to try to whittle this down to 5?
Oh, I'll go since I just picked. But I tried to check all the boxes. Musically, complex, lyrically, the depth, the creativity of it, vocal delivery, harmonies add a lot for me. I mean, not so much on that song, but there's a lot to speak for on that song on its behalf, so it kind of weights in a different way for me. But I had kind of a checklist in my head. Okay, they are really great at these things. How many songs can I pick that checks off as many boxes at once in one song?
I agree with everything you just said. Plus, for me, the mark of a great song is, does it create a moment, an emotional, does it give you some kind of emotional impact? And so, of course, all of their music is great, but that song for me in particular, it's not their highest charting song. It's not the one that they're going to end a show with and that they have to play live. But for me, I think that one, kind of everyone that I talk to loves the song. So I think it just hits differently for.
Yeah, I agree, and it was on my list. If I was going to pick it at some point, if neither one of y'all had picked it, because it was high enough on my list that we were going to get there for it. What I'm looking for, and with the Eagles, it's so hard to kind of separate them because they check so many of
Oh,
those
yeah, they
boxes
do.
in so many songs. Their
Yeah.
lyrics, they don't write trashy lyrics.
Right.
Their lyrics are always good.
Yeah.
Their musicianship is always good. Their harmonies are always so incredibly tight. The question really is going to be, which ones do they show out on in one or more areas? In Wasted Time, I feel like musically, like there's not that guitar solo in Wasted Time that's just dead on. But where Wasted Time got into the list for me is the lyrics
Yeah.
are top choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
They're grade A.
they intentionally show restraint, and I think that is what a lot of bands miss, is the use of restraint is very impactful. So
Yeah,
I think well done.
And I think Don Henley's delivery is absolutely
Very honest.
spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely spot on. So I think that's probably going to be a strong contender to be in the top 5.
Yep.
But Heather, your pick.
Okay. Well, I picked Hotel California because, for a lot the same reason, because that song, when I was a little kid, it scared the crap out of me. Just the imagery that they gave you, they stab it with their steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast. I'm like, what kind of beast are we talking about? And running for the door and, not being able to get out. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. It scared me because, as a little kid, you can't understand the bigger symbolism of everything. And then that guitar solo, I guarantee that if you asked any one of us right now, that we could sing that guitar solo start to finish, complete with the whoop. And, I don't know how many times we saw Dad do the guitar solo in the car. And,
Oh yeah.
the whole album really, to me, is a masterpiece. But that song in particular, and the crazy thing is Don Felder just did that as a demo and sent it, and they just fleshed it out. And so I think, he absolutely put his stamp on it. It's just a master class, I think, in songwriting. And
Yeah, and there's a reason sometimes that the obvious choice is the obvious choice.
Sure.
And Hotel California is the obvious choice. And almost to the point to where it would almost be cliche to make that, but there's a reason for that.
Right.
Because lyrically, it's phenomenal. Instrumentally, it has what is arguably the most recognizable solo in rock history, guitar solo. There's something to be said for that. And it's really a duo because he and Joe Walsh
Yeah.
are playing simultaneously, going back and forth. Rolling Stone called it the 49th greatest rock and roll song of all time.
seems
I mean,
low
that's a
to me.
Yeah.
that's a it is an obvious choice for an obvious reason.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of their staple song, and it's another one that's probably going to be a top 5 choice for us. I mean, that's
Probably.
the obvious is obvious.
Yeah.
Here's one that I might catch some flack on.
Is this your number
This
one?
is my number 1 pick, and it's One of These Nights. It's One of These Nights. It also hit number 1. If you listen to the harmonies on this song, it is, in my opinion, quite possibly, there's maybe one other one other than Seven Bridges Road, which is all about the harmonies.
What album was that on?
It was One of These Nights.
Oh, duh.
Yeah, it was a title track.
Okay,
on
so
One of These
70.
Nights.
So,
75.
Okay.
Okay. The entire song shows off everything, right? I mean, it starts with a bass solo. Boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom. So the bass guy gets his in, the guitar solo gets his in, and then you get the lyrics are just really, really good. Henley is on, point as always. The lyrics are solid. It is really it checks every box. It may not check every box as high individually as some of the other songs. It doesn't have the Hotel California solo. It doesn't have the intense emotional ride as Wasted Time in the delivery. It doesn't have, that great musicianship maybe necessarily that we notice in some of these others. The harmonies, it's not Seven Bridges Road, but it has all of it.
Yeah.
To an extent
Bigger
that
than the
it
sum of
is
its parts.
it is a complete song that I think is worthy of being in the top 5. And it was actually my number 2. Hotel California was number 1. But One of These Nights, to me, is a complete song, maybe more so than any other song on the list other than maybe Hotel California.
Yeah, it's a great song.
I get another pick, don't I? Because we're going to snake backwards. Okay.
Oh, now I have to go last.
That's right. Now you go last. That's right.
I was so excited. This was worse.
This may be another one that I catch a little flack on.
Okay.
Witchy Woman.
Nope. I agree.
Witchy Woman. 1972 on the debut album. I love it because of the word painting
Yeah.
and the marriage of the music and the words together. It's a spooky song. It's in
Yeah.
a minor key. They brought in that tribal riff, that Native American sound. You can hear it in the drums. You can hear it in the guitar. I love the syncopation that Don Henley uses with the drums throughout. It's just, I mean, really, for your when you get together, think about this. They got together in 1971 as a band, and this song is created by 1972.
Yeah.
Right.
That's impressive. That's impressive. But then you have this kind of spooky sound, and then you're marrying that with words like with witches and moonlights and shadows and fires and the devil's bed. It just is a complete. The word painting is just perfect with the music. I mean, it's a perfect match. And then, again, we can talk about the harmonies.
Yeah.
The harmonies are phenomenal.
It was fascinating to watch. I happened to be sitting next to the sign language interpreter at one of their shows, and to watch her interpret it through sign she was into it, man. It was really cool. Raven hair and ruby lips.
Yeah. This is one of those songs that pretty much any Eagle song is going to be this way, but this one I feel like especially if you're in a band, this is one of those project songs because
Almost untouchable. Like, I'm not even sure I would attempt.
It would be so difficult musically, vocally, because those harmonies are tough. Even
as a girl.
Yeah, and we're the
Yeah.
kind of people who we pick out the harmonies when we're in the car and we sing different ones, but it's so difficult. Usually, even with some of these songs, you're like, oh, you turn it on, and it's easy to find one. But because of the key and because of just the way they have, organized these harmonies, it's so hard, it's so complex. I agree with your pick.
This is one that I
great.
wish that MTV had been around, because, you can picture the video, what the video would have looked like if they'd had.
Oh, there's no telling. There's a lot of different directions that it could go, for sure. For sure. Heather, I think it's your pick.
All right.
This is your second pick, true
My
story?
second pick is actually number 3 on my list, and it is Victim of Love. And I will tell you why. I think that it is one of their most out of the box for them songs. I think it probably is the most edgy, the most full on rock song.
Possible exception of Life in the Fast Lane.
Get Over It. Also, that's pretty.
Yeah, but there's just something
Maybe
about those guitar hits, just that.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. It's just it's so simple, and it's more sparse. I guess that's what it almost. It doesn't have a punk feel to it at all, but it's just straightforward, in your face, but it still has those, that Eagle sound to it. I love it. It's probably, I go back and forth with a waste of time about it being my favorite, but I just think that they may have stepped out of their box a little bit with it, and so I think it's one of their best songs.
This is my favorite Eagle song. Victim of Love is my favorite Eagle song, but it's lower on the list for me because for an Eagle song, it is relatively simplistic. And so,
but I think that goes back to the restraint.
I understand,
but
but what we're talking about is the greatest. We're talking about great songs, and like the lyrics are good, but can we come up with 10 or 12 Eagle songs that are better?
I could be wrong,
lyrically?
but I'm not. That's like my life mantra.
No, I'm
okay?
not.
I could be wrong, but I'm not. Okay? So this song is so good.
No, I'm not.
I'm not. Maybe you are right now. I could be wrong, but I'm not.
But I think that there's probably a dozen Eagle songs that have lyrics that are better. I think there are at least a dozen Eagle songs where the vocals are more impressive. There's a lot more than a dozen where the harmonies are more impressive. And I think there's probably a dozen songs out there where the musicianship, the instrumentalist stuff is better.
Ooh.
Now, that's being said, listen, am I going to
you're
pitch
wrong.
a fit about it? Because like I said, it is my favorite song, but I think when we talk about like
yeah, but
a
I don't
great
think.
song,
Yeah, I don't think you have to.
I don't think it
to
checks
do,
all the
pull every
boxes.
trick out of your bag just to make a good song.
Well, we still have 3 more picks to
Yeah.
go before
Yeah.
I feel like this is a premature discussion.
Okay.
But I don't want to
Yeah,
argue
wait,
too much
no,
against
we
Victim
have-
Alive because it's my
We have 4 picks to
favorite
go.
Eagle song. So I mean, I'm not going to
Well,
argue too
and
much.
we
I'll
also
do
got to
argue.
keep, So I
right.
vote that we move along and we see if we have to bring it back to this.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So you get your second pick now.
No, I don't. Actually, we're down to number 5 on my list
Whoop.
because we're that deep into. I think we agree that much. I think that shows.
Probably.
So technically my number 5 pick is "I Can't Tell You Why."
That's
I
on my
love
list,
that they essentially wrote an R&B song in
Yeah.
some ways.
And the bass line to that song is
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Timothy Schmidt. It's got that stanky bass line as well,
Mm-hmm.
and his vocal, that falsetto. So like the contrast of this heavy featured bass, his vocals that are real light and up there. The harmonies are still there, but kind of like you're talking about, they're so great at that restraint. We know that they are incredible and they can do whatever they want to do, but they are choice about where they insert certain things. So I'm loving that about this one. And
he
then
makes it sound easy.
he does make it sound easy.
That is not an easy song to sing,
No.
even as a female vocalist, because we do it.
Yeah.
But to get that I can't tell you why to float up over there as a male vocalist.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he just makes it sound easy.
Yeah, and then lyrically, thematically, I think it speaks to. I mean, if you've been in a relationship for a long period of time, you've been through times where you're like, why are we fighting? This is stupid, but I still love you, and we're gonna make it through this. It's gonna be okay. I don't understand what this is all about, but we're gonna get there. So I think it lyrically impacts you. You can relate to it. It's still relevant, and it's going to stay relevant because that's just human relationships. That's the way it goes.
What I like
So I think
about
it's got
it,
staying power because of that as well.
What I like about it is it's so different from everything else that they've done.
Yeah.
Like you said,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like an R&B song,
Yeah.
which they really didn't delve into that world very often. But it is.
They did get a lot.
It is so unique to the other major hits anyway.
Yeah.
That they're known for.
But the long run as a whole, that album is real bass heavy and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it does. He had been in the band, I guess, a couple of years, but that's what I mean. The band is just, it's two different bands in my opinion, with Randy Meisner and
Yeah.
Timothy Schmidt.
You get one more pick, Beth.
Oh gosh. Okay. So now I have to decide, do I want to go in the order I put it in? I'm gonna go with my gut.
Do it.
So my next pick is technically number 6 on my list.
Don't
is
take mine.
New Kid in Town.
Oh.
And so the reason, let me go to my notes. So musically, again, it's kind of a divergence from some of their other songs. It's got kind of a Latin influence in some ways. It's got that really complex harmony, and then thematically, lyrically, fame and recognition is all fleeting. And then the way that the music and the lyrics work together, when that guy comes in, when your replacement is there, those guitar chords, they start to hit heavier, and it's got just a more weighty feel to it. And, that was a conscious choice that they made, I'm sure of it. And so, all these little things that they pay attention to, I think even if you aren't listening for those things specifically, that still, with the feel of the song as a listener, you may not pick up on it and say, oh, they did that specific thing, but it hits you in a way, and you feel the lyrics in a different way because of the way the music accompanies it.
Yeah. It's also on Hotel California.
That's
Yeah,
you know, we talked before a little bit, and I said I definitely, because of my list, I know that I have a favorite album.
Yeah.
That's for sure my favorite album.
Well, and there's a reason for that. I mean, it's a great album, you know, and my frustration with Hotel California is like there were songs that I have sworn were singles,
Yeah.
but they weren't singles. Victim of Love was not a single. They never singled it out. Didn't chart. Pretty Maids All on the Road wasn't a single. Didn't chart. Last
Right.
Resort didn't chart. These are some great
yeah.
songs.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would argue I like them more than New Kid in Town. But they don't even get released. You
Yeah.
know. So I mean, it is a great album start to finish, and you know, I'm when people don't mention it like in the top 3 to 5 albums in rock and roll history, you're like, have you listened to the album?
Yeah, it's one
start to
I don't
finish?
skip a track on that album,
Yeah. So,
start to finish.
but yeah, I mean, the whole album is just absolutely stellar, and I think that's the first track on the album is New Kid in Town.
It's second. It's right behind him.
Hotel California's one, and then New Kid in Town. Yeah. So, you got your 3 picks in?
I got them. So Heather's next.
All right.
My third pick is also off Hotel California, and it is The Last Resort. It's just this sweeping epic of a song, but it is so, you know, it tackles, you know, issues like environmental issues, and the last line is just, you call someplace paradise, kiss it goodbye. You know, and just about consumerism and, you know, all the isms like they talk about and say anything, but just it starts out so simple, and it really paints that word picture, and then it, you know, it grows as the building and the development grows, and then, you know, you see things being destroyed and stuff, and it is completely underrated, I think, in the scope of Eagles songs, and so it is my third pick.
Yeah, and part of that is because they didn't single it out.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
It's long.
it's long. It's 7 minutes. Is it 7 minutes? Something like that? Maybe 6
I
minutes.
don't know,
6,
but
7
it's
minutes. But
long.
It's long. No question. But again, it's one that was on the Hell Freezes Over album. So, I mean, I just knew it. You know, I mean, that's one that was, of course, a lot of Hotel California songs were on.
Yeah, it
the
was
Hell
interesting to
Freezes
see what
Over
they
album,
picked for Hell Freezes Over.
You know.
You know,
So I'll go to my last pick, and this is really a struggle because I'm looking at some songs on there that are not going to get selected.
Yep.
I'm looking at Take It Easy, not going to get selected.
Yep.
Life in the Fast Lane,
Yep.
not going to get
It's on my list
selected.
too, though.
Yeah.
And the one that I really wanted to be selected, Take It to the Limit, not going to get selected.
Yep.
I'm going with Desperado.
Yep.
Yeah.
Depending on who you ask, some people think it's the second, third best song that they've ever made.
They end every show with it.
You know, Billboard, second greatest Eagle song of all time. Rolling Stone said it was the third best Eagle song of all time. Bottom line, it's a great song.
Yeah.
You know, the lyrics are phenomenal. I love Don't You Draw the Queen of Diamonds. Boy, she'll beat you if she's able. You know, the Queen of Hearts is always your best bet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great line, especially when you consider it's a concept album, a Western concept album. What do cowboys do during their off time? They play cards. So it all fits together. I mean, the whole album doesn't get the due that it's, you know, that I think it deserves. But there's just little sections of songs throughout the album like that kind of point to the concept of the album.
Tequila Sunrise.
Tequila Sunrise, obviously. But the lyrics and the Western motif, plus the title, you know, Desperado, right? It was just a perfect marriage, perfect addition, perfect name for the concept album. And then, of course, you know, Don Henley just knocks it out of the park. You talk about delivering an emotional ballad. He's as good as there is, in my opinion, at doing that in the rock and roll genre. that raspy voice. He can just absolutely deliver it.
Plays drums at the same time.
So
Yeah.
for me, Desperado's on the list, and I'm looking at some songs here that didn't make it. And I'm just
What
like,
didn't make
oh,
it on your
man.
list?
It was number 9 on my list, but I'm looking at some of the other ones. But to me, "Take It to the Limit" is such a great song, and it's the only real hit that Randy Meisner was the lead vocalist on. But it's a dynamite vocal. It is, and then the
It's one of-
harmonies, that the last 45 seconds of that song.
Get on my nerves.
You don't like it? I love it because
it's a little strident
it's
there.
word
at the end.
painting, right? Take it to the limit. One more time. Okay, take it to the
Yeah.
limit.
He is
One more
taking
time.
it. Yeah.
And then, the falsetto stuff at the end that he does. I mean, not easy. Not easy.
No.
And
Certainly
so
not.
that's one that I think from the harmonies in that particularly the last minute and a half or so of the song, his individual performance in the last, the falsetto, hitting those notes, I think certainly warranted it being in the discussion of being in the top 5. But at the same time, there's going to be some really great songs that don't make the top 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's one. And then Life in the Fast Lane.
Yeah, it was on my list too.
They dropped all pretense of folk, country, their bluegrass influence, all
Yeah.
of it out the window. Full-blown rocker, full-blown rock song, Life in the Fast Lane. And then Felder and Walsh just absolutely annihilate the guitar solos. I mean,
Also on Hotel
they just do
California.
phenomenal on the guitar solos. Live in the Fast Lane, probably their second best collaboration with the guitar solos, second only to Hotel California.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Take It Easy, which is to me not as lyrically great, or Glenn Frey, not the singer that Don Henley is, in my opinion. But that song is just a feel-good song. I mean, I always smile when that song comes on, and there's something to be said for that. But is it a top 5 Eagles song? I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah. Heather, what did you have in your top 9 that got left out?
Seven Bridges Road got left off because, they have what they call the circle of fear. And before every concert, they sit in a circle and they sing their vocals right to the middle. And so you can hear, who's out of tune, who's right, who's wrong. And if you've ever tried to sing that song with 3 or 4 other people, it is so hard to stay in tune. It is because it's so sparse and you're just out there. I mean, the instrumentals come in later, but even so, with that grounding. But the original part and the end, when it's a cappella, it is very, very difficult to keep it as tight as they keep it. I can't tell you why I Life in the Fast Lane, Desperado. Heartache Tonight.
Yeah.
It's just a little grittier, and it kind of gave me a rockabilly feel to it, and I just really like it. And I had an extra Best of My Love. I think the vocals, the harmonies on Best of My Love, the chord structure is unique, but it still stays in their style. And I mean, I can't really find an Eagle song I don't like. So
Well,
I'm not
when
gonna
I
be
was
mad
kind
at
of
anything,
going
really.
through and trying to whittle my list of about 20 songs
Yeah.
down to 9 is what I was trying to do, really. When I was researching Heartache Tonight, Bob Seger had a big influence on that, and you can hear the Bob Seger influence in
Yeah,
the song. I
definitely.
mean, there's no question
Definitely.
about it. What about you? Do you have any songs in there that didn't?
I did. So I also had Seven Bridges Road on my list. And then the only other 2 that didn't get picked, we went pretty thoroughly down into my list. I have Lion Eyes and Get Over It. I love those. I love Lion Eyes, that story song. They're really different songs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of.
Get Over It's fun.
I love Get Over It. It is fun. So not much to
I'd like
say.
to
I mean,
find
those
your
are
inner
great songs.
child and kick its little ass.
Yeah. Now you're gonna get us the E.
Oh,
Come on.
The dreaded E. Okay, so now it's time for 9 to 5.
You
We
wanna
got
go
to
9?
whittle this down from 9 songs down to 5. I think there are some that we can agree on should be in the list.
Yeah.
We all pretty well agree that Hotel California is either 1 or 2, probably.
Yeah.
There's a general consensus, I think, on Wasted Time. Would that be fair to
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
And then it gets dicey. It gets a little dicey after that. What's a song, looking at the list, that you think we should maybe eliminate
What
from
was
conversation?
what were your 3?
My 3 were One of These Nights, Witchy Woman, and Desperado.
Yeah.
Are you about to try and cut one right now?
Is that what we're doing?
I don't know.
Yeah, we got it. Well, we got to cut 4.
I would
Well,
cut.
yeah, we do. What would you cut?
You're going to cut One of These Nights, aren't you? I saw the look in your eye when I
Yep.
said it.
Yep.
As a 2 out of 3 for me. Yeah.
That's
That hurts,
brutal.
doesn't it? Yeah.
I
That's
did
brutal.
that last time. I cut
You
yourself first.
Man.
What were your
Wow,
3
it has
again?
everything. It has everything.
Witchy
Great
Woman
bass
and what-
line, great
He has
guitars.
Desperado as well.
Desperado.
That's killer.
So just as a reminder, what we have left after that cut, Ben has Witchy Woman and Desperado. Heather had Hotel California, which we agree makes the list. Victim of Love and The Last Resort. I have Wasted Time, which we put on the list, and I Can't Tell You Why, and New Kid in Town.
I gotta say, I think it's a beautiful song, but I think The Last Resort is the weakest of the bunch when it comes to total overall greatness. The harmonies are okay. They have some at the end. I mean, I get it. But there's not like a show off moment instrumentally. The vocals are pretty vanilla throughout the song. Do we disagree? For an Eagle song.
No, I mean, I'm just...
For an Eagle song, it's pretty vanilla. The lyrics carry it, no doubt. Great lyrics. But for me, it is not the caliber in checking all the boxes of the other songs on the list.
I disagree. Well,
Was your number 3 song?
my number 3 song.
Yeah.
It was her third.
Yeah, it's your third
down the
pick.
list,
Yeah, because
Where was it on your overall list?
4.
Okay, so I mean, it's like if we said it was number 6 overall, I mean, would you be we're moving it
5. I'll compromise at 5.
So that would be mine.
So that puts me as the tiebreaker on that one again.
Yep.
I seem to be put in that position frequently, but I agree with Ben, actually. Sorry about you.
Is there any other one that we think should definitely be on the list?
That should definitely be on the
That
list.
should definitely make the top 5.
I mean,
Desperado, probably.
yeah, I can't really argue with that. It's truly not one of my favorites.
And I mean, it's sparse.
but
too.
it's
I mean,
a
it's
beautiful song. Yeah.
You can do it without harmonies completely,
Yeah.
and they often do.
I think that the
But-
vocal delivery is emotional enough that even though it may not be like incredibly difficult to do, I think his delivery is special enough on it to make it a great vocal performance.
Here's where I'm about to get hurt because we have only 2 spots left. And the rest of these songs, I'm looking at them and they're so stinking good.
I know.
And it's going to hurt to take some of these out for me. Which, I mean, I know
So we got 2
y'all
spots
probably
left?
don't. Yeah.
Because we're saying we agree on Desperado to be in the top 5.
I
think so.
agree. Yeah. So now we're cutting from Witchy Woman, Victim of Love, I Can't Tell You Why, and New Kid in Town. And I will be. You want to talk about maturity from the last time? I'll go ahead and I'll even say out of these, I would say New Kid in Town I would be willing to let go of from those
I would
that
agree.
are left.
And I don't know that it is one of the top 5 songs on the album. Because that is a great album.
I love that song, but
I think it's one of the top 5 songs on the album.
Really? I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying you
Yeah.
could make the argument.
You could.
You could make the
could.
argument that Hotel California, Victim of Love,
Yeah.
Last Resort. I mean, we're talking about Last Resort.
Right.
We're talking about. I mean, you could make the argument.
yeah, I will vote to cut my own on that one.
So we got to cut one more.
We do. So we're looking at Witchy Woman, Victim of Love, and I Can't Tell You Why. And
I think I
don't
Can't
know
Tell
I
You
can
Why
do it.
should go on the list.
Wow, really?
I'd be willing. I would be willing to cut.
Oh.
I don't know. Never mind. I don't know if I would or not. So it's between Witchy Woman.
Witchy Woman, Victim of Love, and I Can't Tell You Why. And these are three of my favorite
I don't know. That's
Eagle
tough.
songs. Yeah.
I'm not. No, I'm not willing to cut Victim of Love just yet.
I would cut Victim of Love. That's the one I would cut. It's my favorite song. It is my favorite Eagles song, but I think when we talk about checking all the boxes, the other songs on the list, check the boxes.
Okay, but
Check all the boxes.
But
They
if-
check all the boxes.
But if it's your favorite
yeah,
and it
that's true.
speaks to you somehow, then
Yeah.
what about that X factor that makes it your favorite? So what about it speaks to you that, I mean, just because
Well, the Eagles didn't think of it enough to be a single.
Man, I love that song.
I do.
But it's my favorite
I know.
Eagles song, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm trying to pull out and objectively look at it like you're saying,
Yeah.
but
I think that it is lyrically not as strong as the other ones. Musically, instrumentally, it's not as strong as the other
I
ones.
disagree with that.
Well,
I
we
disagree.
can disagree. That's my opinion.
there's a lot of noodling in that song behind the scenes. Like you can listen to that song, which even in my notes, I wrote that there's so much to listen to and focus on. Each time you listen through, you'll find something new.
Victim of Love is a great song because of the attitude. That's what
Yeah.
makes it a great song. The attitude. And that's really the best thing that it's got going for it. I just love the attitude. That's why it's my favorite Eagles song.
Yeah.
But like from all the other perspectives, I mean, is the vocal performance as good as it is? And I Can't Tell You Why.
No.
No. So
Lyrically, is it as good as Witchy Woman?
No.
Harmonically, is it as good as Witchy Woman? Or I Can't Tell You Why? No.
Oh,
Right?
dang.
I don't know.
It hurts. And I think I know. I think here's the point that I'm at personally is that I know what you're saying makes sense, but in my heart, it hurts to make the words come out of my mouth that I agree that I want to cut that song.
But
we're
sometimes-
getting down to the
sometimes it's-
nitty gritty that I'm going to have to say. I
Yeah.
agree.
I mean,
Well, you have Hotel California on the list. I mean, so it's not like you're all three cut.
I would have to, if I'm going to put one more song on the list, I would concede, but I think it should be I Can't Tell You Why.
I'd be okay with that. Because it's so different than everything else that they've done. To me, it kind of shows their range. So I don't have a big problem with I Can't Tell You Why being on the list.
So then, hold on. I'm writing. Dang, calm down. That's my sound bite.
There it
Yeah.
is.
So here we are.
Too bad she wasn't close enough to the mic to make that part
You're
of it.
so. Why you gotta be so rude? Okay. So Witchy Woman and Victim of Love. That's where we are. That's the last spot. Are we in agreement
That it should be Witchy
that
Woman?
it should be Witchy Woman?
Yes.
It's me again. I get to make the choice. Okay.
So you have to choose between what is really the best song.
You're
or
so,
your favorite
you're so
song.
manipulative. Listen. Oh my God, it hurts. But I have to, because after we pick these, then we have to put them in order, which that's gonna suck too. My Halloween loving heart also. Like I'm so drawn. I love Witchy Woman, and it truly is so complex in all those areas. I would then say,
It's going to get canceled for cultural appropriation.
well,
Nobody thought
Girl,
about
get
that
outta
until
here.
now. So
yeah.
now we can't even post
now
the
and
podcast.
it will, and it's your fault. Okay, so you want to hear the five, and then
Okay.
we'll put them in order.
All right.
So we have agreed that the top five, in no particular order at this time: Hotel California, Wasted Time, Desperado, I Can't Tell You Why, and Witchy Woman. And if that doesn't speak to their catalog and how diverse it is, just
Yeah.
those
No
top
doubt.
five, I mean, that's
I think it would
pretty
be-
incredible.
I think
They're
it'd be
all very
easier.
different.
They
They're all
are.
very different.
I feel like that's a
It's
good
not like Foreigner.
selection.
Foreigner's got a lot of great songs, but they all sound exactly alike.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
I think we probably, I don't know, I may be wrong, but I think we probably agree with what 1 and 2.
Should be,
Should
but I
be.
don't know if we agree on the order.
That yeah, but
I would
maybe
say-
we should do the bottom 3 first.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, like, go from the bottom
So
up.
then what are we saying is five?
Witchy Woman.
I would actually put I Can't Tell You Why 5 and Witchy Woman 4, but I'm not going to argue too much about it. So, Beth, it's your...
I would put Witchy Woman at 4 again because of the complexity of Witchy Woman in all areas. So I will give you that I Can't Tell You Why will be 5.
So that means 3 set in stone. Mm-hmm. Which
so
is?
So 3 is Desperado.
Okay.
Is that
Fair
right?
enough.
Yeah.
Fair
okay.
enough.
Yep. So now, Hotel California or Wasted Time, and this is kind of a hill I will die on.
I got to say Hotel California is 1.
Okay, then I agree. I don't have to die on the hill.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite.
It's not my
two.
favorite of the
agree.
two. But
Yeah.
as far as since we're checking the boxes, let's check all the. It does check more boxes.
Well, I mean, it's so
It's epic.
It's so
It's a-
stinking good. Yeah.
All
it
right,
starts so
so we have a
simply
top 5.
and builds. It's amazing. Yep.
Beth, if you'll read the top 5 for
Okay.
us. Greatest, or no, sorry, best Eagle songs 1 through 5. Here they are from the music list.
Number 1, Hotel California. 2, Wasted Time. 3, Desperado. 4, Witchy Woman. And 5, I Can't Tell You Why. And I feel good about that.
I
know
feel
about
good
you.
about it. I'm square. I think it's good.
you feel me.
All right, so there you have it, 1 through 5. That has been episode number 2, potentially, of the Music List podcast.
Yeah.
We will be back with you soon with a new topic, a new debate, and we'll see you then.
Thanks for joining us on the Music List podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.
She almost had it.